Hello everybody, we're back at it with web dev today. Last time when we started this, we were doing how to set up a simple server, and we accomplished that. If you'd like to learn how to do stuff like that, that is in the part 1 of this streaming series. You can find the VOD for that on my YouTube, and I linked to it on my Twitter. So we've already got that part behind us. We made a web server using Node and Express, and it serves up a very simple static file style of server type thing. So that's all good and done. Today I wanted to unravel the mysteries of CSS, otherwise known as cascading style sheets, and talk about how they work to style your web page and ways that you can basically make very simple CSS that's like effective and not too much of a pain in the ass to manage. What else? That's pretty much the goal for today. The goal for the overall project, this is the part 2 of the installments of building this thing over the stream, is to basically make a new portfolio site for myself, because I haven't done that in a very, very long time. My previous portfolio page hasn't been updated since I was in college, which was a lot of years ago. So it's time to make a new one, and now that I find myself streaming more and more often, it seems like the perfect opportunity to share that experience with everybody else. So that's what we're going to do today. You can see my wonderful, normally this would be gameplay. This is today looking at my browser to do localhost. So that's going to be fun. Let's see. Okay, so let's get started. I've got my hotkeys to switch between VS Code and localhost. I want to pull up terminal. Terminal is visible now. Awesome. I've got my... Where are my notes? Huh? Notes? Notes? Where you at? I could swear. Oh, there we go. Just lost the focus. Okay. So I've got my list of tools that we use. Last time we went over how to use command line, how to use Git, and then the ways that we use JavaScript for a server, for Node, and then we manage Node with Node Package Manager. I'm going to be focusing less on how to use these pieces today, and instead I will just be kind of doing what I wanted to do with a background of commentary. If you've got questions, want to talk about other projects, by all means. One other thing I should do before I forget is boot up my captioning software, because I want to have live captions. Where is my bookmark for that? There we go. Should be good. Alright, cool. We got our captions. We are all set. So, I'm probably just going to get to it. We have the starting piece for today. If I run npm start, I think that's the command. Should be good. Error? No? No script start. npm... What is it? Oh, I haven't even set up an npm script for that, right? Node run index.js in the terminal. Maybe I'll one day remember what these commands are. Node index.js. That's what I meant to do. So I go back to my localhost. We actually go to localhost. I have that as a recent place. Here's where we're starting today. It's a really basic page being served, fortunately, out of our own little web server, which is nice. It has text on it. It has an image, and we know we can serve both of these things through Express, through our web server, so we're good. Now we need to make it pretty, or presentable in some way, because it's not. This is nothing. This is not a web page. that we'd be proud of. You wouldn't pin that on the refrigerator. So let's just get cracking on that. I don't really have any good overarching like grand idea of what I want this thing to look like. So this is going to be an iterative process, I think. I'm going to try and talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Let me bump up the size of my text on VS Code so that it's actually like legible to people who are streaming, or to who are watching. I'm the one who's streaming. It's always legible to me. Nice big text, really chunky. Here's our webpage right now. It's got an empty head, just like me. A body with 2 divs in it, kind of similar to me. A picture of me blushing, not like me at all. And that's pretty much it. So let's close that. Let's close that. We have our server. Don't need to go over that anymore. So I guess now is time to talk about another tool we're going to use. There's CSS, which is the language that your browser does stuff in. So like, for example, I can go to localhost here, and I can right click on this and I can click on inspect. How does that look? Let me close my terminal as well, or hide my terminal because it might be blocking some stuff. So I can click on inspect, and we can see from the inspector here, there's a section called styles, and that's actually showing the CSS cascading style sheet styles of the particular element that you've got selected. And because we have no CSS on this page, it's got nothing. So let's go to some page that is more styled. Let's go to another page that I've made before. Subvault.net. This one has style. Even though it looks unstyled, there is stuff going on. So like, for example, this main container, it's got for the ID selector, which is to say things that are named alert container. It has a way of displaying things. It has a margin. Let's see, what else we got? The images have like a height and width forced on them. We've got a border, etc., etc. So that's CSS. And no matter how you slice it, you're going to have your browser. The browser interprets CSS and nothing else. But there are tools you can use to make writing CSS in alternative syntaxes, which helps make more complex CSS. Helps with things like reusing CSS in kind of an object-oriented way, using variables across CSS. And that tool is called Sass. I don't know what that stands for, but that's what we use. CSS is the file extension, and it's called Sass. If anybody in the chat knows what Sass stands for, or why it's called that, let me know, because I don't know. I just know that it's a CSS transpiling tool. So, how have I done that before? I always look back at previous work when I try and figure out, or try and remember how I did stuff previously. There's no shame in copy and pasting. So I can see here that I had previously 2 commands that would help me compile that Sass into CSS. I'm going to copy them wholesale into my from my subvault package into my new one, because I want to do the same thing. So then I probably need to install CSS or install Sass in some way. I think it's a node dependency. Yes, here we go. It's a dev dependency because you only use it when you're developing it. The actual runtime doesn't need it. So we can add that here. Dev dependencies. Boom. Sass. Then I just need to run here on my terminal that I need to pull back up. I can do npm. Oh, I still had OBS selected. What did I just do? Here we go. Npm install. And it will download the new dependency that I added to my package here. Yep, 1 package added. It's Sass. Cool. So let's see. And then where do I put my Sass files? I always forget that as well. Let's look at the previous file directory. Oh, I have a folder called Sass. Right, okay. So I'm gonna pop a folder into my directory here. New folder. This is just gonna be Sass. It's gonna have a new file in it called style.scss, and this is where I'm going to be writing all of my Sass. To give a really quick demonstration, Bahan points out that Sass's syntactically awesome style sheets. That's a big up from cascading style sheets, but they still cascade. So maybe they need to be called like SCAS or something. No, well, no, because it needs to be syntactically awesome cascading style sheets. So I don't even know how you pronounce that. The cascading part's important, though. I don't know if I'll explain it because I don't really want to be super lecture-y this time. But basically, it just means that there's like a hierarchy of styling, and the things at the top of the hierarchy have precedence, but then things beneath them can also, you can like have a lot of different styles applying to the same element, and it has a mechanism for deciding which ones come out on top, kind of like the dominant recessive genes of your web page. Anyway, to give a real basic example of how this works, I'm going to do something that only Sass can do. I'm going to declare a variable. Normal CSS does not have variables. You just write things like color is, and here's the hex code. But I want to have, say, let's see, something easy, right? Like black. Name of the variable is black. I think you do it with an equal sign. I actually don't remember. And it would be hashtag FFF, right? No? This is probably not how I actually write Sass. Once again, I'm going to look at a previous file because I never remember the syntax for these things, and a lot of my work is copy-paste from previous projects. So let's take a peek at another piece of previous work. Here's the Sass for that website we were just looking at. Subvault. Right, okay, yes, duh, it's colons. Okay. So, like, for example, black would be that. And then we can do body. We're going to define style for the body, like that. And we can do background color is black. And so now when we go to terminal and we run npm run build CSS, we now have in our public folder a CSS file. And what does it look like? Okay, cool. Also, I picked the wrong direction for hex. I was thinking backwards. We made our variable name black, but it is white. And so now we can see if we put these side by side. Let me hide my tool. Actually, first let me update my tools page. Here. SCSS. Sass. That's the other tool we're using. Yes. Bon once again getting me with the correct... Bon, professional web dev Bon is getting me on my syntax, because I can't remember this shit at all, but she's a genius, so, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so let me hide my tools. I've added it to the list. What were we doing? Okay, so we put these side by side. Here's the Sass on the left, and here's the compiled CSS on the right. Where we can see we have a variable defined here, and the compilation puts that variable's value in every place that it's used. In something really simple like this, who cares? But once you get more and more components, you definitely want something like this. You can also do something like div, and we can do, I think it's extends, include, there we go, body, like that. And then if I run the command again, oh, that's not what you're supposed to do. Why am I so bad at this? What is the spawn going to get me again? I don't remember this because I recently used it today. I don't know. That's fair. I might not have done an include in this one. Let's look at another previous piece of Sass. I'm glad you're not sassing me about how bad my Sass syntax is, because that would be mean. Here's one for the Kiryu Coco website that I made earlier this month, or early June. I think I do some kind of inheritance in here. I must. Oh, okay, it was extend. I was right the first time. Okay, so not include. Include is for mixins, which I'm not going to talk about today, because they're very specific, very particular. Close that. Okay, so now I run this again. And we can see we said div extends body, which means that it has the same attributes as body. I could do something like font size, 26 point. You don't usually use point, or 16 point, 26 point. You don't usually use point for CSS because it's usually want to use relative units, but that's not the point. Pun intended, I guess. Yeah, so then we end up with something like this, where we can say body and div both get the background color, just div gets the font size. And so these things work together to learn how to style these elements. That's power of Sass. You can do stuff like that. It makes it really easy. You don't have to copy large chunks of styling. You can simply apply them across elements quite easily. Anyway, that's not what I want to do right now. I don't really care about that. What do I want to do first? Actually, I do know what I wanted to do first. I wanted to have like a scrolling type background because I'm really enthralled by those. I like them a lot for some reason. Where is the file I wanted to use for that? Let's see. Layout, gingham tiled. Yeah. Question for folks who are watching. How is the BGM currently? Because last time I watched the VOD for when I did this last time, and I found that the BGM was extremely quiet, so much so that you could barely hear me. And if I'm gonna be quieter today, like talking less, kind of just doing more, I need it to be audible. You can't hear BGM. I see. Okay. Let me crank it up. Better? That's so weird to me that it's always really quiet, because to me it's really loud. Like I can hear it clear as day. That's gotta be better though, right? I have to assume that's better. You can hear it now, that's good. Okay. So I'm just futzing around in MS Paint right now to make a tileable version of the pink gingham I use, because I want that to have a scrolling effect on the background. So once I finish that, I will save that into the static assets directory that we have so carefully made, and it will be able to be served, and then I will make CSS for it, and we will talk about that. So let's see, save, pictures, where's this going? Skeletom net, public, image, PG. Okay, I've done that. I think VS Code can open pictures we found out last time. If I go to image, PG, yeah, there we go. Tiling, gingham, which is what we want. So let's make a style for it. We're gonna have a class called background. And what's it gonna do? Once again, I refer to previous work because I've done something very similar in the past. Let's see, open file. Random Cocoa. That's what I wanted. Sass. PG. Scrolling background. Perfect. I can probably just copy a lot of this wholesale. Yep. I think this is basically what I want. I can copy this, bring it over, and I can explain a lot of what this does if we care. PG. You'll notice that there's a line here which refers to animation. I have to make sure I bring that over as well, because otherwise it just won't do nothing. Modern CSS is amazing, because you can do stuff like this now, which is much more advanced than we used to have it. How big is this? This is 130 by 130. So we're going to say this offsets by 130 by 130. Not a nice square, but that's fine. And then in our HTML, well, actually we need to go to our HTML index here. In our header, we're going to include our CSS script, src equals style. Don't need a double slash. Or no, it's not script. It's link. Link is what I want. And I forget if I'm supposed to indicate that this is CSS, but we'll find out. I don't need to get everything right on the first try. So if I run node index again, have this booted up, and I switch to localhost, will anything be different? Close the inspector. F5. I don't know. I actually didn't name any of my elements, so I don't know. Can it find this? If I go to sources, I'm not sure. I'm assuming I'm driving Bon up the wall here, because, like, the nature of me being bad at this, or not knowing what I'm doing immediately and constantly needing to refer to reference. Class equals background. Should just be able to refresh. Alright. I think it didn't find the CSSY. Like, I should be able to click on this and it would take me there, which makes me think it can't find it. Localhost CSS style. Is it because I didn't link it as a style sheet? That might be. Let's look at a previous index. Once again, opening an old file, learning and remembering how to do something important. So we go to subvault. We have, for this one, it was all template based. Ah, yeah, I think I need these things. Oh, and it's not SRC, it's href. Yeah, okay. Yeah, none of that was good. So we specify what it is. It's a style sheet. Type is text CSS, and instead of source, it's href. I don't know why, I guess. Why there's a difference, but that is the way that these tags work. So I can't be too upset. If I refresh now. Interesting. Okay. Background color. Oh, I never rebuilt my Sass. Let me stop that. npm run build CSS. What I should just do is I have a command in my package here, which is build CSS watch, which basically anytime I change my CSS file or my Sass file, it'll rebuild. So I might just open a second terminal and have it do that, so I don't have to keep switching back and forth. We'll see how frustrated I get as I go on. Who can say? Alright, I built my CSS, I already did that. I can run npm or node index again, boot the server, and now if I refresh, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. As I say, not showing you my localhost. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. It's a very slow panning tiled gingham. It's over on top of everything, and I can explain exactly why it does all of that. What we've done so far is we have in our head here a link to the style sheet that we've just compiled. This is important. It has to be done in a very particular way using a link tag. Typically it's done in the head tag, though I don't think it has to be. And so this points to the CSS file to read. It's relative to that public directory that we told our static server to serve files out of. So that's why we have a style here. And then in the individual class here, there's a lot of reasons why it's like on top of everything, etc., etc. The reason it's on top of everything is because we have position fixed, I believe. No, I'm incorrect. Why? I thought position fixed was the culprit here, but maybe I'm just crazy. Oh, duh. Wait, no, actually I don't know. It's the body, so the things inside the body should be on top of the body, no? I'm a little confused on that. actually. I thought it was position fixed, which makes it, like, unmovable, even when other things are on top of it. Its z-index is really low, so it should be behind things. A fun thing about CSS, by the way, is you can open this up. I've been hitting F12 in my browser to open up the inspector. You can also right-click and do inspect. I realize that context menu doesn't show up on stream, but you can do inspect, and then you can actually open up the actual CSS of whatever page you're looking at and turn things on and off. Like if I turn off the animation, it just becomes static. If you turn off the background image, there's nothing there. Oh! Oh! I'm dumb. Okay. It's not on top of everything. It's because this is the top level class. This is where the cascading part of CSS comes in. I figured it out. I remembered. This is where the the cascading part comes in. So we have body, which is this whole container at the top level, and then inside of it we have the text, and we have a div containing the image. And this class body we've defined to have overflow hidden, whatever, z-index, whatever, it animates, cool. Crucially though, we have this right here, opacity 0.1, and because they're cascading style sheets, and this is the topmost element which has children elements, this opacity 0.1 propagates to every subchild here. So if I turn opacity off, it looks like you'd expect. But because I have opacity on, because I wanted the background to be somewhat faded, you know, instead of this bright bold gingham like I have everywhere else, it makes the children look faded as well. I was interpreting it as the background has high opacity, or low opacity rather, and the image was behind it and you could see it through it, but it's the other way around. The image is actually the one with the low opacity as well. So that's not quite correct yet, but we're getting there, If I turn off opacity, there's no real, I guess, major difference yet, because the background is just pure white anyway. But yeah, that's that. Okay, so we probably can't just make the whole body have that class as background then. That's okay. So we remove this from here. Let's make a new div inside the body that's not containing other elements, and this will be the one called class equal background. And so now if I reload this, there we go. That's more what you'd expect. Though I think the opacity is probably too low. Like, it's barely visible. So we go back to our background class here. And instead of having to, like, build and recompile CSS a whole bunch of times, what I can do is I can edit it in the inspector here. I can just change this value in browser and see what I want it to be. So like 0.5 is probably better than 0.1. 1 is like too sharp. I could do like 0.75, probably fine. I think 0.5 is probably about what we want, where it's like nice and very pastel without being overwhelming. There's also, I'm noticing, what looks to be a margin around the body. Yeah, by default the body seems to have a margin of 8 pixels, which you can see along the top here, there's a white bar. So we can override that behavior in the CSS as well. So let's do that. We've got our this guy right here. Change the opacity to 0.5. Let's define for our body tag. I keep forgetting to switch back and forth to VS Code. There we go. So in VS Code we change the opacity. Let's do body. Okay. Margin 0. And you don't need to specify a unit, because 0 is 0 no matter what kind of unit it is. We go back here. I'm just actually going to open up a new terminal command line. We're going to just have this constantly running the Sass builder, because I don't feel like shutting off my web server every time I want to recompile Sass. cd git cd skeletom.net npm run build CSS. What did I call it in my package? It was build CSS watch. Nice, okay. I think that should do it. If I go back to localhost and refresh. Yep, there we go. No more margin. I'll probably want a margin on the container inside the body, but I don't think I wanted the body itself to have a margin. Yeah, okay. Damn, this is starting to look like a website, huh? It's got color. Wow. Okay. So back to VS Code. We can wrap all of this in a main. Another great syntactic, semantic tag name. Like apps that are good for accessibility, that are like web readers, where they interpret the HTML and explain them to people who are visually impaired or what have you, really like tags like main and article and such, because they are very informative of what the content of that section is going to be. And that's an important part of thinking about when you're designing your HTML or anything. It's very easy to say, okay, this looks very apparent, like, okay, this is over here because it's an article, and this other div is the navbar and such. I can interpret that and I understand that because of visual cues. But for folks who use web readers, it's very important that you label your tags accordingly for what they are, because the web readers often interpret things like class names or IDs, and of course tag names, and will read them to people, and so they need to be informative and helpful that way. There's also like a initiative is the word I'm looking for, with web development and accessibility called ARIA, which is in all caps ARIA. I don't know what it's an acronym for. I'm assuming it's accessibility something, but it's a list of guidelines you can follow to help make your web page really accessible to accessibility tools such as that. In addition to web readers, it's things like having your colors be distinct enough that they're good for colorblind folks. Text needs to be big enough that visually impaired people can read it at a certain distance, etc., etc. So that's maybe not a 101 thing, but it is really important to consider, even at an early point in your development, to make that accessible for ARIA, because it only gets harder to implement accessibility when you've got more and more content you need to retrofit. So make sure you think about it to begin with. So we're going to have main here, and we can go back to our VS Code. We're going to define for main margin. Let's use a variable, because we're probably going to want to use a similar margin for everything. So we're going to have basic margin is 0.5 EM, and this is a variable. Oh, I forgot my semicolon. And I don't need a colon here. There we go. So now if I go back to localhost again, refresh. Oh, duh. I can fix that, I think. I can move this outside of main into the body. Because I was like, I don't want the body to have a margin. I want the main to have a margin, but then I put the background inside margin, or inside main. And it doesn't like that. It doesn't solve the problem. Why? Huh? But that doesn't make any sense. This is outside of main. You can see because it's highlighted blue, and there's that white strip at the top. And then I've got main, which does have this margin, but if I turn that off, it fixes it. Why, though? If I change this from margin to padding, does that solve the problem? I guess so. I guess padding is what I want. Okay, that's fine. So margin is a border around the outside of your element. Padding is a border on the inside. And so I want this thing to go to the edges but have its content on the inside be pushed in a little bit. So we use padding. There we go. Cool. Perfect. Yeah, so if I refresh, it's using padding now. That's represented by the green, and it's all set to go. cool. Yeah, this is beginning to resemble a website. What do I want next? I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess like a basic nav bar might be useful, but I don't have anywhere to nav yet. I should really think about what I want for the actual overall design before I get... I don't know. My goal is to have this have a front page, which is like, hi, I'm such and such a person, and then have like a section, probably like a grid along the bottom that's just a bunch of different projects sorted in some kind of way with a little bit of information about each of them, maybe like a screenshot or something, or like some other kind of embed. I don't know that I can do a screenshot for all of my projects because some of them are purely code. Like recently I made like a Discord bot. I don't know what a screenshot of that would look like. But some kind of icon or embed would probably be good. And you can click on them to get a little bit more information and bring up their own page with like a larger summary, I guess. Really, I should have just thought about this before I started doing the stream, I think. But winging it is also fun. Let's see. I'm gonna turn that up and lower it on my end, because it's actually a little distracting to have my own BGM so loud. I think I can turn it down even more. I wish I had like a good sense for how loud it actually was coming through on stream though. It's like always a mystery. Ah well. That's the spirit of being an indie. Everything is scuffed all the time. Okay. That's all set. This is all set. We got our nice scrolling animation. Let's make another class. Got our background icon. Hey Bon, do you like sort your sass in any particular way? I've always wondered this. I've heard very differing opinions on like if it matters or not. Nope. Instant response. Awesome. Cool. Let's make another variable. Icon. Mention. 135px. Width. Icon. Oh, I'm not showing VS Code. Icon dimensions. Height. Icon dimensions. Border. 1px. Solid. Black. And border radius. 5px. So what I expect this will do is it will, I'm going to turn off terminal because I'm not going to need it for a while. It's just blocking stuff. This will make my icon square, give it a 1 pixel wide border that's solid black, and border radius makes the edges rounded instead of solid, or instead of square. So, wrong index. If I go here, I can do class equals icon, go back to localhost, I refresh, where's localhost? I refresh, there we go. Exactly like I thought. Solid. Perfect, okay. That's cool. We can do background color is, I'm gonna make variables for all of these. White. We can do hashtag FF as we learned earlier today. And I'm going to make black also one, because while I'm using pure white and pure black right now, I might want to change these later into something that's more like a blue-black or like something like that. This would be hashtag 000. And so it makes it really easy that I only have to change it in one place instead of everywhere. VS Code again. So yeah, I've made my variables, and I'm going to replace the border color with now variable black. And this time it's actually black, unlike when we started. And I've made my background color for that white. We go back and forth to localhost again, hit refresh. My icon now has a background. Perfect. Cool. So what I'm imagining is I can have some kind of text next to my picture here. I'll probably center this more or make it larger. I have to think about if I want to make this like responsive or not. Actually, that's something I should do right now, is I should bring in, as you can see, it's very similar to what I have here. I'm basically rebuilding this because it's easy to jog my memory with, and I can compare results. But what I should do is, on the subject of having things be responsive and reactive, I should bring in... Oh, I actually didn't use those for this. Never mind. There are CSS libraries called Normalize and Skeleton that help for making things... they have like a lot of pre-built things in them, classes, so you can specify like how many columns wide something is on your web page relative, and even when you go between being on mobile and like a phone, they should scale properly. This is a bad example of it because I don't include them, and I just have this be like really, really raw, where it's basically just text on a page with very minimal formatting. But those are useful, and I might want them. I'm not sure. Still not sure. I don't know. I also feel kind of silly because I was like, I'm not going to try and over-explain everything that I'm doing. I set up how to build a web server, and I thought that I did a good job, or an acceptable job of explaining how that works. Then I was going to just do a working thing today, but here I am, 45 or so minutes into this, and I'm like, let me explain what each line of CSS does, and we've accomplished. Essentially, it's like that SpongeBob meme where he writes the word V really pretty, and I've made like, one CSS class. It has a scrolling background. Perfect. What do I want this to have? I'm not sure. What do I want to do? Let's bring in the CSS and normalize, I guess. Open file. Because I think I'm going to end up wanting columns on whatever I end up making here. I think that's the correct way to do this here. It was fine for the subvault, because that was, like I said, really supposed to be, like, super minimalist. But I'm not sure that's what I want here. So let's take these. We're going to pop them in here and uncomment that. Oh, uncomment both of them. Like how neither of them had the right... Oh, and I have to actually bring the files over as well. An important part of serving your CSS is having the CSS. Normalize and skeleton. And I gotta pop those in the right place. There we go. That will probably subtly change how things are presented, as it were, but not that much. I think there's like a default font that Skeleton uses. That's fine. Okay, so we can use that to do something like making a navbar. So we have our main div. This is going to be ID equals navbar. So there's class, which you can apply to a lot of different things, and ID, which should ideally just be one element ever on your HTML has that ID. So that's basically the two use cases. A single div can have like 5 classes assigned to it, but it should only have one ID. And there can only be one div with that ID on the HTML. Otherwise, your browser will get very confused about what it's looking at. That's basically the different use case between those two selectors. I don't think there's more to it than that. So navbar, we've got our container for our navbar. Now I gotta remember what these skeleton classes that come pre-built are. I think it's like div class equals columns 6, something like that. And I would do like left side, and I can. Oh, I'm not even looking at VS Code. There we go. Yeah, so we've got our. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do these right after doing this professionally all morning, because I'm like losing track of what I'm trying to show and not. Yeah, so like I was saying, there's classes and then there's IDs. Classes are, you can just pile them onto a div. It can have like 5 different classes. Another aspect of cascading style sheets is if you've got like 3 classes assigned to a div, and all of them change the background color, for example. Like say I had, this is background and icon and like bright were the 3 classes, and background makes the background this image, icon is supposed to make the background white like we saw, and bright is supposed to make the background yellow because it's bright. The way it will decide which one of those is the dominant gene, which one takes precedence, is actually which one comes first in the CSS definition file. So ordering sometimes matters there. Wait, is it first or last? Do I have that backwards, Bon? Do you remember? In CSS, determining if you've got like multiple classes that all replace the same variable, is it the class that's defined last in your CSS or first that takes precedence? It's probably last, right? Now that I think about it. I actually don't know. I don't remember. Shoot. Feel prepared for this. Last, I think. That makes more sense than first. I don't know why I thought it was first. Yeah. So basically, they will all override each other, and the last one wins, I think is the correct way of thinking about things. Though, you shouldn't take my word for it. You should definitely look that kind of thing up. Or you can just try it yourself. We could even find out right now. So we made... we're going to make a class called... an ID. ID selector is pound, navbar. Background color is variable black. Then here... Oh, another thing, actually, important note about selectors like this. ID selectors are more specific than class selectors, which means... Oops. Oh, that's handy. It just opened up the MDN docs when I clicked on something here. Yeah, so ID selectors are more specific than class selectors, which is, I think, what Bon is talking about in the chat here, with it depending on specificity. So, like, if I define background black in here, this will take priority over any class definition that the CSS has, because this is the most specific level. I think ID is the most specific level. Like, you've got tags, which are these in green, like body or main. You could even just do div. Then more specific than the tag is the class it has, and more specific than the class is the ID. And that's like a way you can also get what you're looking for. So navbar is black. To find the height of the navbar and pixel height, I'm not sure what the right way of or what the right units we want for that right now are. Let's do div left side, div right side, and we're gonna have ID equals, I don't know, like about ID equals home. I'm not even sure that I'll need like navbar for this, but this is something to do. About background color is red. I'm not going to bother using variables for these because this is just temporary to show that the spacing works. And this is going to be home. Background color is blue. So we have that, and then in our index we have these two things. Columns is a skeleton CSS class, which says that you want this to be in a vertical column. 6 is the number of columns width you want that to be. Skeleton divides the page into 12 even columns, so 6 and 6 should each be half of the page, I believe. Let's go back to localhost and look at the actual page that we're trying to make. If I refresh this, more or less correct. I'm going to close the inspector here. Or no, I'm going to reopen the inspector here. We've got 6, and it looks like there's some inherent margin on these, so you can't have them bumper to bumper. But if I turn off the margin, each one is exactly half the page. I can even edit this in browser if I wanted to see like 4 on home. You can see it's less wide, so that's cool. That's pretty much exactly what we want, I think, other than the colors, obviously, but something like that. I believe there's also class equals, I don't remember, you full width, I think that's the name of it in Skeleton. Yes. Wait, maybe not. Hold on. You full width. Yes. Okay, that's a Skeleton reserved class as well. Once again, Skeleton's just being great at everything. You full width defines the div as being full width. So even if I made, once again, this one to like 1, and we only have 7. Oh, wait, huh? That's not how that should behave. I was like preaching the praises of this thing, and it didn't do what I thought it would do. Skeletons are bad at everything, actually. We're awful. Streaming is a blow-up, is what I was told to say when stuff like this happens. Why? Why is it doing that? What I would expect to happen here is even when column 1 is... Oh wait, hold on. Is it because I need to do main width is 100? No, that doesn't help the problem. What I was expecting it to do is keep all of these other elements on like a separate row, because this one is supposed to be the whole width of the page, but it doesn't appear to be. Let's give it some height. 100 px. Oh. Interesting. So it does... The problem was it was just basically non-existent. If we turn off the height again, and we hover over the element, we can see in the top corner there, it says it's like 823 pixels wide by 0 tall, which just means it doesn't exist. So it can't be full width, because it doesn't exist. It's like a ghost, rather than a skeleton. But as soon as we gave it height, which we can toggle back on, it does what I was describing, where you have one and then the other, and even though this doesn't fill up the rest of the page, the navbar itself will take up the entire page. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Why does it have a margin also? Oh, right, because padding, duh. Right, there's padding. Why does it not seem to respect the padding on... Oh, yes. Okay. We can't have that, because padding doesn't work with that well. Okay. So this is manageable. Let's make our navbar have a height to it. We go back to VS Code. Navbar height. We can make another variable. Navbar height. Probably something like 64EX. We programmers love our powers of 2. Realistically, we probably want this navbar to be something in EM, which are relative units rather than a fixed pixel height. But I'm just spitballing right now. It doesn't matter a whole ton. So now if I go back to localhost again and refresh, much better, much more what I'm in line with expecting. Now we probably don't want the navbar to actually have a background color like that. That was just for visualizing purposes. Take that away. Refresh. Much better. Okay, okay, okay. We like that. Cool. So now we can clearly see that each of these is taking up half of the screen, which is what we want. Uh, what would be good? I'm still just thinking about what I want in terms of design. I don't know. EMs are good, yeah. Do you know what it stands for? YEM? I'm gonna keep asking you web dev trivia, like I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm assuming it's an abbreviation for something. But the only thing I could think of would be like empirical, which doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what it stands for. No idea. I mean, that's fine. You know what might be fun, actually? What if I styled this page... Well, no, because at some point I'm probably going to have more than 8 projects. My thought was, what if I styled this page like the fucking Mega Man boss menu, where I've got my dumbass face right in the center here, like I'm in the center square, and I'm surrounded on all sides by thumbnails of my other projects, and you could like hover over them, and doing so would make my dumbass face like look at them, like up, you know, down, left, right kind of thing. M dash. That doesn't answer my question though. M dash, what does that have to do with sizing? I don't know. But yeah, I could do like a Mega Man thing. And that actually segues really nicely with what we just went over with the skeleton thing, because we're basically trying to construct a table here on what I'm describing, where you have 3 rows of 3 columns each, which we're very equipped to make with this. So let's do that. I'm going to give ID equals grid. This is let me tab back to VS Code. Okay, so we can collapse. We can hide our nav bar for now. That's fine. I don't really need this anymore. Let's make 3 rows of 3. That'd be div. We're gonna take these guys. We don't want to copy the ID though, because once again, you can't have multiple things with the same ID. Let's see. This would be 4, if I can count. If we want 3 of them, it should be 4, 4, and 4, because it divides into 12, I think. And then we want this one to be class equals u full width. Look at you, VS Code, intelligently recommending a class that I've already used. 2, 3. So we have 3 of those. And they each have my face on them. So if I go back to localhost, moment of truth, what happens if I hit refresh? Oh wait, they don't have my face in them. That's almost correct. Almost. What I need to do next is take this image tag and replace Control R or Control. Let's replace right side with this image tag. Place all of them here, except in the navbar we can put it back. Right side. Once again, I forget to switch back to VS Code. So I replaced all these that I copied with that blushing tag. Now I go back to localhost again. I'm getting some good mileage on my Stream Deck. That's almost correct. Oh, wait. That's why. Control R. Left side, replace. Why are these indented by one? That's weird. And we'll go back to localhost again. Cool, almost what we're looking for. In actual Mega Man, they're like all next to each other though. So not quite what we want. But we are demonstrating that we could make a matrix in theory. Imagining that these ones on the periphery are all different pictures, but the one in the middle is just me still, with like a bunch of different images ready to go. So when you hover over these ones in the periphery, it changes the picture here. I could definitely do something like that with JavaScript. I think that's how you do it. I don't think there's a way to make this picture change when you hover on one of these other ones in pure CSS, though I feel like there should be. I don't know what that way is off the top of my head. I'm not even sure that this is what I want to do. It's just a fun thing to prototype. I don't know. The fun thing about web dev is that the actual implementation part isn't, in my opinion, is not the hardest part. It's actually coming up with a good idea of what you want to implement. That's like the hardest 80%. And then once you have the good picture in your head, I feel like it's downhill from there. I'm sure professional web dev Bond is gonna yell at me for saying that, because I'm definitely admonishing the amount of work that implementation goes. But for something simple, something that's not like an enterprise application, I feel like implementation part's relatively easy, and it's just coming up with what you actually want to show. You can bonk me for that though, if you want. I mean, yeah, exactly, right? Like, I am an engineer. I cannot hide this. Everything in every bone in my body, pun fully intended, is designed to build something, but my brain is mostly empty. I can't like my mind's eye is mostly empty. I have a very hard time visualizing layouts and colors and shapes. I can think about functions and what I want to achieve, but I have a hard time picturing what they look like. Yeah, your job is mostly recreating someone else's design and vision. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I admire that you're able to do that so effectively. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. What would be the most effective way to convey a portfolio? Because, like, the Mega Man style grid thing is fun, and I could refine this further for the sake of showing how to do it. Like, the first step would be we want all these things to basically be centered, and then we would want these to be, like, all tucked together, I think. We want, like, a single grid of 3x3. But I don't know if that's the best way to do it. At some point, I'll have more than 9 projects, and I don't know if I'd want them all to be on the homepage. I'm like trying to think what the best way to represent that is. Maybe I should just have like a large banner image of myself at the top of the page, or like over here would be like a large picture and then like a lot of about me, and then like a little dividing line, and then just like listing projects with little thumbnails or something. Could be fun. Exactly, right. Well, that's what I was thinking. Yes, the portfolio should showcase your work primarily. So my thought was I'd have me in the center here. You click on me for like an about or something, and all the other icons would be screenshots of projects that I've done with like probably the title in the box as well. Let me find an example of what I'm talking about. Mega. Yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking of. Can I open this in my... here? It's gonna blow up on me? Oh, that's really small, but like that is basically what I was imagining, where I'd have myself in the center, and then I'd have like, you know, Project A, Project B, Project C, in this grid, and when you hover over them, much like in the Mega Man games, when you look around and select a boss, me in the middle switch where I'm looking. But I don't know if that's a particularly effective way to convey all these different projects. I don't have a better idea, though. I hear Vaughn typing furiously, telling me why my idea is shit. Presumably, it's a fun idea. I feel like that's like, but. It's a fun idea, but. I don't know. I'm kind of stumped. Could be fun. Well, I don't have anything better, so I'm gonna keep going forward with this for the sake of continuing to build stuff. If I end up not liking it, oh well. I'll have learned how to do it in the process. You can. Okay, actually, no. Let's talk about this now, because now you've brought some more ideas to the table, Vaughn. Arrows to scroll through. Can you explain what you mean by that? Also, can you turn on the light, please? Because it's getting dark in here. I'm reminded of when I buried myself. Please. Actually, I can just do it. I can get up. I see you've explained the concept of a directional arrow, like left and right arrow. What would that scroll, though? I'm not clear. I'm not, Is this a website? No, this is the Mega Man character select screen. But, it'll pan to a new grid. Okay, interesting. So you're saying, like, if you hit a left and right arrow, it would make all of these ones around me change? Like, swap out, like a new frame, basically, but I'd stay put in the center? Is that what you're imagining? Curio, to answer your question, I'm just trying to come up with, like, what I want my design for my page to look like. And I didn't really have a good idea for that. I was kind of just going to noodle with it. And see where we ended up. I was thinking I might do something fun like the Mega Man character select screen, for some reason sprung to mind, where you'd have my face in the middle, and then each one of these squares would be a thumbnail of a project that I've worked on, with a little, with the title of the project, and then when you hover over these different icons, it would make my face in the middle turn to look at each of them. I'd have like a canned image that would change based on where you hover. Yeah, it sounds cute, right? So to that end, if we started here, I was like, let's build a grid. I have some really ugly navbar stuff that's got block colors in it to show how much space it's taking up. A very common tactic in web dev is you have your boilerplate stuff. Not boilerplate, temporary scaffolding stuff just to show like where elements are, because otherwise they're kind of invisible. So if I wanted to make a grid like that, maybe actually I don't need each of these to be... Oops. Let's go back to VS Code. I probably don't actually need each of these to be an individual column. I can probably just do, in a bunch of full width things, something like this, like that. Instead of having each image be in its column, which is kind of keeping them very far apart, I can put 3 images in an individual column, and then have 3 rows of that, I think. Localhost. Show me. Computer, show me. No, I can't do that. Doesn't like it. Because once again, this thing doesn't have a height. If I give it a height of 135px, that's interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Not really the behavior I expected. Let's make another class. This will be grid row. Oh, you want to see some really cool stuff, actually. Let's go back to VS Code here. So I'm going to make a class called grid row, and I'm going to make all of these. I can have my grid row and my full width class applied to the same div. That's no problem. What I could also do is I can do something like this. I think this will work. Oh wait, no, I can't, because I was gonna say I could do dot grid row at extend u full width, but I can't do that because the u full width part is not defined within the same SAS file, so it would not know where to combine it from. Hi. Icon dimensions. That's another great use of variables right there. Hello. Kanawanagasaki Yoko. Hello. Thank you for stopping by. I like that icon. What is that from? If I hover over this on me. Crazy Sun. Cool. I like it. 3 eyes. Looks very happy. Thank you for stopping by. What are the subtitles? Not Twitch's one. Yeah. I'm using a web-based subtitle client because I didn't know there was a Twitch plugin one. I should probably switch over to at some point because I bet the Twitch ones are more accurate or reliable. But this is a web client-based one. I just have a browser source in OBS that's doing that for me, and I like it. It's funny because sometimes it says the completely wrong thing. I like it. It's cute. Crazy Sun. It's cute. Yeah. So thanks for stopping by. I don't know how long you've been here, if you've been like lurking or whatever. Basically, I'm trying to build up a new portfolio website for myself because I haven't done that since college, which was further ago than it wasn't. And so I was trying to think of things to do. I figured I might as well build the thing on stream because that's fun. Streaming is fun and working together is fun. So to that end, right now I'm just doing some CSS and... there we go, that's a grid. CSS and... HTML, that's the other one. I see. Yeah. Did I heard about Blazor? Like a blazer you wear? I don't know. I've not heard about Blazor. I don't know what that is. Is that like a library framework or something? Because I am a strong proponent of just using out-of-the-box HTML and JavaScript and stuff like that. Blazor framework. No, I've not heard about it. You can tell me all about it, though. I'm happy to talk about it. I find a lot of frameworks like React and such, and Angular back when that used to exist, to be overkill for what they do. But if you spread the good word, I'm happy to talk about it and listen to it. Tell me all about Blazor. I'm assuming it's very fast or something based on the name, but I don't know. Blazor framework. What am I looking for here? Let's open up a previous thing. One of the most fun tasks any web dev can do is figuring out how to center their content, especially centering it vertically. So I never bother remembering how I do this. I once again just copy from my previous work and just carry it forward. Center align. Where are you? Center line is somewhere in here. Somewhere. Probably at the top. It uses web ASM to render components, and it uses C# for web logic. So it's like it's a back-end framework, is what you're talking about? Or you're saying it transpiles C# into JavaScript for browser stuff? Because that would be nutty. That's like a really strange way to do things. But I guess cool. Center line. Yes, this is what I want. I've not heard of it, but it sounds cool. Extend center line. Compiles into WebASM. So you didn't heard about WebASM? No, I don't know what that is either. I am a JavaScript lover. Big fan of JavaScript. And sometimes you can catch me talking about TypeScript. But no, I don't know what that is. Ooh, interesting. Why did that... Grid row. Yeah. Grid row extend center line. Huh? New way to run code in browsers. Okay. So it's WebAssembly, is that what that stands for? ASM? I've definitely not heard of that. But It sounds neat. Justify content center. Oh, that's why. Instead of learning JavaScript, you compile any language to WebASM and run it in browser. That sounds cool. I look forward to that future. Okay, that didn't solve my problem. It also is faster than JavaScript because it is bytecode. Interesting. So when do browsers plan to all support this? Because I'm assuming that sounds like some cutting edge stuff. That sounds like in like beta builds of Chromium or something. You'll see something like that. Why is this not centering? Oh, that's not an ID. You fool. Class equals center align. Okay, that didn't solve the problem. Display flex. Once again, we just start toggling CSS elements at random to figure out what's going on here. Why is this not centering its rows? They're already supported. Supported it since 2015. That's interesting, because that would be most of the time that I've been involved in web dev. But I've never heard anybody else talk about WebASM. We could look at it. Show host. WebASM. WebAssembly.org. WebAssembly, abbreviated WASM, is a binary instruction format for a stack-based virtual machine. WebASM is designed as a portable compilation target for programming languages, enabling development or deployment on the web for client and server applications. Efficient and fast, like you were saying, safe, memory-safe sandbox execution environment that may be implemented inside existing JavaScript virtual machines. Has shipped in 4 major browser engines. Interesting. I've never heard anybody talk about this professionally or at a hobbyist level before, but it sounds cool, assuming it's not snake oil, but, I mean, I don't know. Interesting. First appeared in 2017, 4 years ago. Oops. Cool. Yeah, I've never heard people talk about this, but it sounds cool. Interesting. Now, why is this not centering? Flex wrapped, align items center. So align your items to center. I don't understand. Is it because this is full width? I'm confused. Why is this whole grid not centering? And then I'm gonna have to figure out how to make it like responsive also. It's gonna be a pain. Pretty much, but oops, all fun. Basically, like I said, I was gonna try and do something like this. Because it would be fun, maybe. And then I just hover over each of the corners, and I have to pick, I guess, 9 projects, or 8 projects that are worth talking about. Yeah, I mean, that's what I got, right? These are all display flex, justify content. I realize the text is a little small, but that's what I got here. That's why I'm confused. Doesn't seem to do anything. Is it? My thought was, it's because I have each of these as a full width thing, but even these internally should be justifying their content. If I make them not full width, they stack like that. Do I need to like nest these things? Where I have this in like another div? Does that solve the problem? No. Okay. So wait, if I... Okay, so now I've got this is full width. Column, div. If I make this like with 50%? No, okay, still just putting a huge margin. Why? Why? Well, actually, I can simplify some of this too. Remove this. If I do U full width, I probably don't need columns actually. See, this can go away. This can go away. Interesting. Now I'm just thinking about WebAssembly and why I've like never heard of it. Have I just been living in... There we go. That's what the problem was. Columns was doing something wrong. Okay. It's a start. I would obviously want to include like padding or margin, I guess, on each of these icons. And then there'd be like a text beneath them for a title. But we can work with this. We can work with this. And I just got to do the same thing for the last one here. We don't need columns. I don't know what columns was doing, but it was... or I know what it was meant to do, but I don't know why it was interfering here. So let's go back to our... Also, I just realized I was like, oh, there we go, and I didn't switch back to my browser. I keep doing that tonight, as you can tell. So let's go to our icon, sass, margin. You can specify margin on each direction, but if you just do margin, it's all of them. Basic margin, and then we go back to localhost. We refresh again. Cool. It's a start. We need these to not be a fixed... There we go. I should just remove the height aspect of these. Perfect. It's a start. Let's go back in here. We don't need to include the height element anymore because they have something else that's driving their height from the inside. So we can get rid of this. Refresh again. It looks good. I will need to do something to make it responsive on mobile, but that's okay. It's right now it's because the icons are a fixed pixel size. Let's really just ruin everybody's day. And let's change icon dimensions from 135 pixels to like, oh, 2 EM. Definitely too small. But let's see what that does. Yeah, it makes them little. Makes them little guys. But it makes them about the same size on mobile as they were elsewhere. I did like 24 EM. They're huge now. But they're critically relatively the same on mobile and not mobile, which is good. That's why you use non-static numbers like that. So let's try something in between 12 EM. I'm sure there's like a good mathematical way I could do this also, but I'm just prototyping right now. Okay. I don't quite like... I mean, I guess there's no real way to make this grid fill the whole page on a... Yeah, I guess that's the other thing, right? Is it's fun to be like, oh, let's do this like Mega Man grid, but how does that look on mobile? Speaking about, guess what? This, of course, exists. I don't know what this link is. If one of my chat mods wants to check it out and let me know if it's a good link or not, by all means, that would be cool. I'm not going to open it up on stream, but I will try and remember it later. Continuationlabs.com D3 demo. I don't know what that is. Taking some time to load. So much for being blazing fast. Oh well. Yeah, I don't know. How would this even look on a mobile browser anyway. Because you're gonna just have like all this space at the bottom. And I don't know what I'd fill the second half of the page with. If it's so top heavy with images, people aren't gonna like scroll down to read more. So maybe this isn't the right thing to do. But we learned how to do it, which is the important part. Oh, it's Doom. D3, okay. That's cool. I mean, if you can run Doom on it, it must be pretty good, right? That's neat. That's cool. I'll check that out after I'm done streaming for sure. But I think you can understand why I'm not just going to open random links posted in the chat on stream. They could be anything. Thank you, Vaughn, for checking them out for me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we got our grid working. We got our basic nav bar kind of set up a little bit. So that's cool. It's not nothing. It's a little bit nothing, but it's not completely nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like... I don't know. I might just kind of call it early. I say early, I've been streaming for like an hour and a half, which is kind of a while for immediately after work. I might come back to this. I've got my scheduled next time for doing this. I've got blocked off on Saturday, supposedly right now at 1 p.m. EST. I might have to move that. I'll be vocal about it on Twitter if I do. Oh! Hey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it, kinda. Thanks for sticking around. I am trying to lean more into doing more techie stuff as opposed to just games. As you can see, I'm not amazing at it, but I'm trying to get better, and I feel like streaming it's a good way to hold myself accountable. I did a part 1 of this about JavaScript and Node, which I was a lot more adept at, like getting going immediately because I know that stuff quite well, and I felt pretty good about it, so I wanted to do some more of this. But yeah, so thanks for joining the Skeleton crew. You're a true blue bonehead. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Your follow means a lot to me. I hope to see you again in the future on future chats, not chat, web dev or other technical streams, or even the game ones. But yeah, back to what I was saying. My next planned time for doing this is Saturday. This coming Saturday at 1 p.m. EST, though I may need to move it depending on if real life interferes. And so I think what I should do is draw out some ideas for layouts on paper before I try and like totally visualize this from nothing, because I don't have like a design I'm trying to implement. I was just like, surely I'll come up with a good design live on stream if I stream it. Which I don't think is going to be the case. And I'm kind of drawing a blank here, and instead of just staring at this for another hour, I might just wrap it up early and come back with a fresh head on Saturday. When I have more time, and we'll think about like what this should actually look like. Yeah, I think that's probably the plan. But before I do that, I should do what I did last time, going back into VS Code here. Because this is like a live streamed project, I have been documenting basically what I've been doing each step, or every time I stream. Today is the 22nd, 22 ND, 2021. So I can basically explain to people, because the repo is open source as well, like what has changed between each day. It's a good way to hold myself accountable. It explains what each step of the process does. So we are going to added the SAS dependency. Added the SAS dependency. JSON. 23 from me already. Oh, yeah. I guess that tracks. You're in Japan, I'm gonna guess. Just taking a wild guess here. That would make sense, yeah. Today it is still the 22nd. It is just about 8 p.m. EST, the 22nd here. No. Oh, okay. Where are you at then? I guess there's way more than just Japan is already in the 23rd. I was basing that purely on your display name, which I realize is probably not the greatest way to assess where somebody might be located. But I was just taking a stab at it. But yeah, it is 8 p.m. about EST here. I know the other half of the world is definitely on the next day already. I'm in Europe. Ah, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Added the SAS dependency to our package JSON. Added build CSS command. Convert SAS into CSS. Yeah, so this ties in with basically what we covered last week, which was how to use an Express server to serve up static files. This CSS is one of the static files that gets served up by Express. I'll include that here. CSS, etc. Method of scrolling background pattern. What else do we do? Normalize.css and I am indeed American. As I keep saying, I'm on EST, Eastern Standard Time. It is 7:30 p.m. right now where I'm at. So I am in fact a American, living in the America right now. I had the brain genius idea of streaming more web dev after clocking out of my day job of being a software engineer, and I was like, surely my brain will still have juice in it, and I can do great things tonight. I expect I'll do a lot better on the weekend. My last version of this was on a Saturday as well, and I felt like I did quite well in explaining things and having like clarity of mind. I don't feel quite so alert, I guess, today after work. So I'm hoping the weekend will be a bit better. America, fuck yeah. It is kind of like that. If you've never been, unfortunately, that does hold true just a little bit. There are quite a lot of folks who are like that. Your poor brain needs a break. I think, I don't know. I think if I were just doing this web dev and not also trying to stream it at the same time, I might have a bit of a better go of it, because like I'm trying to explain things and like talk about my thought process out loud. But I think there's a lot of value to me personally streaming this process, even if maybe it's not super engaging to viewers. I feel like it's good for me to be able to look back on my thought process and look back on how I would go about explaining things, or how I do go about explaining things to people, because I want to get better at being able to explain technical concepts to not necessarily technical people. Yeah, so even if this makes the web development process way slower, I feel like that's okay. I don't know. I'm not necessarily racing towards any kind of deadline. I want to get this done before August, which I guess doesn't give me a ton of time, but I just need to come up with a good design, and I think I can implement the rest rather quickly. And if I really have to, I can do it off stream. Though I wanted this to be like purely a streamed process, I guess. Well, you fooled me. You're saying you're not a native English speaker. You absolutely fooled me. Your English language skills seem absolutely good enough to get through Twitch chat. So no worries there. I totally understand everything you've said so far. I appreciate that you've stopped by to chat. You've enlightened my mind to a new dimension of web dev that I've literally never heard of before. So that will be something to read about over coffee in the morning. And I get to check out that Doom implementation when I'm done streaming. Okay, so we import normalize and skeleton framework for use of CSS classes. Noodled about different design concepts. Pretty much that. A slightly more styled home page now includes CSS styling served from the same static directory that we set up last time. The current go forward idea is to have the there we go. Slightly more styled homepage that now includes CSS styling served from the same static directory that we set up last time. The current go-forward idea is to have the portfolio set up like the Mega Man boss select grid with my face in the center, and each boss being a project. Clicking on any grid square would bring the user to a page about that project in more detail. I think this is a fun, like, QT idea, but I'm now realizing, like, I'm very stuck on not knowing what this would look like on mobile. Like, I don't know how we overcome this problem, where in order to fit these images side by side, there'd just be a ton of empty space in the bottom, and I don't know what we would do with that space. So that's definitely something I need to think about more. Like, you just center this vertically as well, and just have this in the dead center of the page, and then you probably move the navbar or remove the navbar or something. I don't know. Things to think about. Definitely something I want to think about before I come back to this. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I end a lot of my sentences with I don't know, because I really don't. Okay, so we've done that. We can pop terminal back open. We can build the web server, git add all, git commit m, implemented the Sass first few CSS classes. Git push. Always push. I probably should have commit and push more times during my build session today than I just once at the end here. But I wasn't really making a ton of changes or progress, so this is sufficient, I think. Yeah, that's probably going to be it for me. I should go eat dinner. I should turn my brain off. I should, like, remove it from the top of my skull and put it in a jar so it can cool down or something like that. But before I do, let's see if there's somebody fun I can send you off to raid. Just remember to be nice. Do I know anybody who is streaming? Looks like my friend Sunny is streaming. They're streaming a game called Carto. I don't know what that is, but we can all find out together, I guess. Yeah, so that's gonna be it. I'm gonna send you off to Sunny. This live stream is gonna finally die again, but it'll rise from the grave again on Sunday or Saturday. Maybe maybe Sunday too. We'll see. Saturday, 1 p.m. EST, I'm going to be back at it with like a design I've already drawn out and thought about, so I can just focus on implementing it instead of sitting here trying to design something. So that'll be fun. Livestream will burst forth from the grave yet again. And with that, I bid you all a good night. Bonus era. What times? 10.